Welcome to another Quantum Conversation. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have another presentation in this Quantum Conversation Summit Series, Timelines, Creating the Highest Benevolent Outcomes. My guest today is Aurora. She is a cosmic walk-in, and she is someone who works with the Flying Rainbow Lasagne. That is her interpretation of the way energy moves and the way we create our reality. And this is Creating New Worlds with the Flying Rainbow Lasagne, a genetic oscillation for the rectification of all timelines. Hi, Aurora. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me for a return conversation, Loren. I'm always so pleased to talk with you, and I'm always pleased and excited to share what I know and what I can bring to your audience. And I was very excited when you reached out to me because you're specifically having a theme about time and timelines. As without too much egotism, I consider myself to be an expert on time, and that is what my work in DNA, the Flying Rainbow Lasagne, and my artistry is really all about. So I have so many wonderful good things to share on that.
We are excited because all of the information that you bring through is what you see on multidimensional levels, and your walk-in experience. People can go and Google you on this platform or search on this acoustichealth.com and New Earth One for those episodes that you talk about your walk-in experience. But I find it fascinating that DNA is related to time. So we're going to talk about that. But the Flying Rainbow Lasagne, for those who are not familiar with your work, tell us what this is, because this is how you see the toroidal energy flow. What's going on here?
That's exactly right. Thank you for that beautiful opening to be able to talk about this. So this is really my mission and my purpose for being here. And I joke about this quite a lot, that I didn't come here through great difficulties for like a pleasure-seeking, pleasure cruise. That I'm really here on a very focused and purposeful mission to share with humanity this concept of what the Flying Rainbow Lasagne is. So I can hold up this sculpture. This is just a very simple sculpture that I made that I think most people can see. It is a generalized toroidal energy field, which I did not innovate. This is something that is one of like the foundations or building blocks of energy in the cosmic infrastructure. It's the shape of our unique energy fields around us, but also it's the shape of Earth's magnetosphere, the shape of the heliosphere. It's from the macrocosm to up to the galactic level, even down to the tiniest thing we can perceive, something at the atomic level. And the most important feature of this toroidal sculpture is the central convergence point, which is singularity, which I'm always clear to say to people is not the singularity that humans refer to when they say the transhumanist singularity, because I'm very, very much against transhumanism. So I've been clear in my languaging about that the whole time. And probably much of your audience is also highly resistant to any idea of the melding of human form plus machine, because I will just tell you guys, why not? Because it's a dead end. It does not help humans to evolve in any way at all. And I know that's a separate, worthy discussion to have, but just know that the singularity here is what people are also referring to as 0 point. It is infinity. And this sculpture, which is actually a static form of something that is moving, is what happens when this sculpture goes into a higher dimension and it begins to dance and oscillate with that central convergence point, jumping up and down, and also this undulative rotation that goes around it. So this is a waveform, and of course you're seeing it as a static image, but just people can use their imaginations a little bit. And you can also see I have a stylized version of it printed on my fabrics here. It's the basis of everything that I paint and teach about. And this is transformative because every time that you add an additional dimension, you gain an additional degree of freedom. And that's like the difference between being a little inchworm that inches along on the surface of a leaf versus a butterfly. Butterflies have way more freedom. They can jump off the surface of a leaf and fly all around. And Humans have been limited to a linear expression and experience of time. That means that you wake up in the morning and you have your breakfast, then you move through time, you have your lunch, then you move through time and you have your dinner, and then it's the end of the day. But when you are a time butterfly, literally you grow wings that are allegorical wings of energy, and you are able to fly through time in a non-linear fashion. That is what the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is. And it is different than the traditional sense of a time machine. Like H.G. Wells wrote a book about the time machine, which was imaginative fiction for his time. Put a lever, move forward, I go into the future. Pull a lever back, and then I go into the past. That's still very linear, envisioning time as like a road that we travel upon. But the Flying Rainbow Lasagna allows us to really transform time and experience it in a non-linear fashion. As a butterfly might float from flower to flower, like touching down lightly on all of these different places, we can float from moment to moment. So what we can experience is maybe breakfast today, but then also I can touch down lightly upon breakfast 2,000 years in the future, or maybe 5,000 years in the past, but then I can come back to lunch today. Then I can fast forward to lunch a million years from now, then I can fly to dinner from 5,000 years ago. You're beginning to see it's a whole new creative way of being able to experience time. And it is intimately related to that concept of singularity because it has to do with unity consciousness. It has to do with the comprehension of self-identification as self as all, that we are not like jumping into someone else's body or anything like that. It is really self-exploring self, because we live many concurrent parallel times and parallel dimensional existences. And this is the higher dimensional, this is deep stuff, ability to be able to concurrently be in all of those places at once. So the time machine is you. It's not an external apparatus. And you might be sitting in your lawn chair in your lawn, outside of your garden on a beautiful sunny day. And you don't actually have to move from point A to point B, but the energy of your energy field is oscillating into these various different dimensions and places, time places. And the value of this is you're able to perceive and receive information from all of these different aspects of self. So let's say if you had a disease and you didn't have the solution for it here now, but someone has solved that disease in 2,000 years, you or yourself in 2,000 years, you can get that information. It's almost like listening to a song. Like if you traveled to the future, heard a new song, you're like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then figured out how to play that song for yourself. Or maybe it's information that was lost from deep antiquity. Someone once had that information that you needed. It's not written in a book. It's evaporated. How are you ever going to know about that again? You can return and recover what that is. So this is the opportunity for an amazing, I'm holding some of these sculptures here, integration of all of these different aspects of what we learn, what we have known, and what we can know. And that's what I mean when I say additional degrees of freedom. You become empowered to receive more, know more, and do more. And I am here to help show this to humanity. I want humans to be able to grow and become like fully themselves. You see my spine goes up, like fully themselves in the world. This is how you fix and heal the world.
Wow. Okay. So this is mind blowing, mind expanding. It really is incredible. I took some notes here. So we are the time machine, and that it's our energy. It's our energy that is traveling to these other places in time. Can you deepen this conversation? Can you share more of what we need to do then? Is it sitting in meditation? Is it our visualization? What do we need to do to be able to expand our energy to go to these places in the past and in the future and other parallels?
It's a beautiful question. And I just want to assure everyone, I'm not drinking Chardonnay. I drink my structured water out of my beautiful wine glass there. So that's just being a little silly, but just want to assure everyone. So your beautiful question. What you need to do is, quote unquote, gas up your car or petrol. You need energy in order to be able to do all of this. And that accounts to light. So all of the things that are ways of ingesting light, physically, sun gazing. And when I encourage people to do sun gazing, I encourage what I call safe sun gazing. You don't have to stare directly at the solar disk with your open eyes. I know some people achieve high levels of meditative practice where they're able to do this, but for everyone, and especially for beginners, and the way that I do it is mostly with my eyelids closed. And you still are getting all of the solar energy that you need, because what you really need to do, like the sun is outside of my window right now, kind of facing it beyond the walls of my home. I reach out with my mind. I reach out with my mind and I draw that energy inward. It's through the pineal gland, and it is also through the energy field. And it is an active, intentional activity, not a passive activity. So you're definitely in partnership. And it's analogous. I tell people your light body is awakening. It's like being an infant. When you were a tiny infant and you came here as a child, you needed to learn like how to eat, how to drink, how to ingest and draw that energy in. So you need to practice and learn how to eat pure sunlight. You also need to recognize that there is light in your food. And I've learned much more about the materialistic miracle of glucose in the body. Research it and find out at the level of the mitochondrial membrane, there's a thing called the electron transport chain that is this incredibly complex procedure where glucose is transformed into pure energy that we can actually use to do something like to move and to dance. That is a miracle. And I just affirm to everyone that you are miracles inside of a miracle, and miracles are happening inside of you all the time, just in the basic aspect of being able to have breakfast in the morning and transform that glucose into light energy. So be cognitively aware that you are ingesting light when you're eating your food. And then some other things that you can do in terms of feeding your light body. I use music, and that's a big part of this. I call it a flying rainbow lasagna dance because it is not the sitting on the couch lasagna. It is the flying lasagna. It is an undulative movement. So I'm very, very big on each person. Find the music that speaks to you. And it should be something that makes you want to groove, hopefully is uplifting, hopefully is made by artists that you resonate with. I won't plug myself too much, but I have plenty of music that I make for this purpose, for myself and for others. Find something that speaks to you. And that's how I live my day. I'm always listening to music, and it makes me have that energy going. You might not think of it because it's not optical light, but it is light for our ears. And that energy gives us this type of momentum to jump into the next highest level of dimensionality. And then also some of this is light that's in the form of new cognitive ideas or information. Because anytime I'm talking about your light body, you can very easily replace the word light with intelligence or information. Like if I say your light body, you might think like a light bulb that is bright and shiny. But what I'm talking about is your information body or your intelligence body. And so even people who are tuning in and listening to our conversation are receiving light, both literally and figuratively. Information flows in through the intellect, and new ideas feed the light body. So expose yourself to the right ideas that put you into the mind state of freedom and expansiveness, self-empowerment, self-responsibility, and all of these concepts speak to DNA. So I'm going to put my sculpture down so I can gesture more. DNA is not a static object at all. It has all of these wonderful natural movements. Even before I came here as Flying Rainbow Lasagne to share that with the world, everybody's DNA was dancing. But the key point is it was dancing in older ancestral patterns. And many of those patterns are not healthy about longevity and coherence because they're patterns that are about the inevitability of death or the inevitability of developing a particular disease or even chronological decrepitude, which is the concept of, hey, kid, as you get old, as you move through time, you're going to get older. Then your back will hurt, your feet will hurt, and all these things. Like I'm being very facetious when I say that because I don't ascribe to that at all. So what we're doing is putting in a new contextualization to the cognitive mind that says there's something new. You can do things in a new way, different than your mom and your dad, different than your culture, different than all of human history up until this point, basically, and that it is possible. And just like running 100 miles, people used to think that running 100 miles was impossible. And now there are mega marathons all the time, and people do it all the time. You just have to know that it can be done. And then your body receives that informational message, which is light, that says, oh, this is something that can be done. And then you do it, and you train in the same way that like athletes train to be able to do it.
Yes, I love that. I really do. And so the DNA is dancing. And so we can instruct the DNA. Can we
Yes.
instruct it or tell us more? Go deeper in the DNA and its relationship to time.
Beautiful. Thank you for that question. So DNA is a bridge. It is a bridge between the physical materialistic world that we can all agree upon, look at under a microscope, that materialistic science can study and analyze, and a world that is really ephemeral, conceptual, and based almost entirely upon frequency. DNA is also directly analogous to, I'm just going to bend down so that I can gesture, the violet or the crown chakra. So I usually point to the top of my head, like a little ballerina in talking about that, but really it's at the center of all of our cells. It's our divine connection to a non-denominational, larger than human conception, divine presence, that the DNA is like the most ephemeral part of our body. It's a crystalline part of our body. It's vibrating at such a high rate. It is only mildly physical, and it responds. It's an antenna. It both sends and receives information, and it responds very much to information. So we change and restructure our DNA with new information. It is a carrier, and that's also part of what our journey here is. We are organisms that have DNA, and we carry information not only from previous generations, but we carry it through time, and we carry it for ourselves. So there's some responsibility there, and that we want to carry the right information and emanate and send out the right signals to those that are around us in this time place, but also emanating forward into the future. So synopsis is that DNA is an antenna that is picking up on signals and frequency, and that your thoughts and your feelings have so much of an influence on DNA behavior. And there's great people that have been already talking about this. They have paved the way for all these concepts, like Bruce Lipton, not total endorsement of everything he is and everything he says, but he's done great work in paving the way so people know about something called epigenetics. Your mind influences your DNA, and that identical twins don't develop identical diseases. So this is really even many steps higher and more sophisticated than that concept. The idea of, let's say, mastering your own unique DNA, which is just like if you've ever seen one of those Rubik's Cube toys it's a puzzle toy from the 1980s, but you have to move this little colored cube in just the right way to solve the puzzle. And your DNA is the same thing, that if you're able to think and feel in the right way, you can move your DNA internally to restructure it, and you can restructure it into new patterns that say, hey, you can regenerate the body. Hey, you don't have to become diseased. Hey, you don't even have to die. You can have a type of eternal life in the sense of always regenerating, always renewing, always moving onward, and not having a mortality event. And definitely big emphasis away from catastrophism, which is what I'm calling the expectation that some people have of like a quote unquote end of the world, a conflagration or something like that. That is, sometimes it's religious based.
Yes, okay. So then this is really the mastery level. We've heard this before, that master yourself, know thyself. And so our thoughts and feelings are very powerful here. So then as we instruct our DNA or change it or reconfigure it, what do you do to hold the right thoughts and feelings? We really have to do that cleanup work, right? We have to do that cleanup work because feelings of feeling less than or worthless, unworthy, jealous, greedy, those sorts of feelings is all part of the old paradigm. And so how do you liberate yourself from that? How do you do a cleanup job to get yourself in the right thought and feeling forms?
That's so well said. And I want everyone to know that those characteristics that you mentioned are really not native to who we are as real, true, full spectrum humans. Those characteristics are really the end result of genetic degradations that happened, or time degradations and distortions a long time ago in this species. That I view the innate human as being innately generous, innately loving, innately present, and that there have been things that were done to our ancestors, and then many in our lifetimes, religious and cultural overlays. Like I think guilt and shame are huge implants. They're not naturally arising. Like whatever humans teach babies to feel a certain way, and then children are socialized and they grow up. So a lot of this is about taking away all of the projections that are unhealthy projections from religion, family, society, and overcoming them. Some of it is about healing personal trauma. And then the ultimate is healing the ancestral trauma of whatever brought humanity down from a very exalted and divinely connected state to being in a very disconnected and feeling worthless turmoil state. And so as I've been doing Flying Rainbow Lasagna, and I've been here as a walk-in for over 20 years now, which is, I always say it's so funny because I thought that my gig would be up in 2003, and it's like, it's 2024 and I'm still here. I know. So I've had a lot of time to kind of like learn and grow and comprehend what's going on. I've learned that when people start to do the dance, and I want to encourage everyone, like, do the dance, do it, things bubble up. And some of those things that bubble up, they think like, am I allowed to do this dance? Like, I'm transforming reality and making things happen. People wonder, am I allowed? Will God be angry? Will I be punished? Will I make a mistake? What will mom and dad think? When you start to do the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, please know that you are not only allowed to do this genetic transformation and restructuring, but you are required to, because there's been really a great destabilization in our world that if we don't respond to it, we won't have a world. So as people start to do the dance and those thoughts come up, am I allowed to do this? Will God punish me? Like, you're not only allowed to do it, you're supposed to do it. It's kind of that question of like, who am I to change the world? No, the real question is, who are you not to change the world? Clearly, our world is in need of uplift. Clearly, there are so many social imbalances, economic imbalances, environmental imbalances, people dying in very many ways that could be prevented. And we must act, we must do something. And it's not about waiting for someone else out there, somebody up there, out there, somebody else, do it for me. It is very much about making a contribution. I will say you don't have to do it all yourself, because that's a huge crushing soul burden to have to do it yourself. So put your shoulders back, but contribute, to make a contribution. And what we begin with is our own body and our own body form and our own lives. So yes, you're allowed to transform your body. And as you begin, it's the I am presence, which is basically your red chakra. It says like, I'm here, I'm allowed to be here, I'm allowed to exist, I'm allowed to take up space, I'm allowed to use resources, and I'm allowed to do stuff in the world. And that is also part of having DNA, which emanates outward a song, that each one of us is affecting our environment. And that's positive. Like, you exist in the world, you're allowed to take up space, you exist in the world. But what are the intentions behind it? So I really try to teach people to have great values as an art teacher. And I do consider Flying Rainbow Lasagna an art. And you guys can see, the camera angle might not be perfect, but I have lots of artwork around my house. And it's all my original paintings. And it's a big part of how I teach and express my truth here. I'm the type of art teacher where I want to give people their own empowerment, where you choose your subject matter. So I will teach you, like, here's a paintbrush, and this is color mixing, and this is how you do this, and this is how you stretch a canvas, but I'm not going to tell you what you need to paint. So in your life, I'm going to tell you, like, this is how you do a Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance. But I want you to choose what you're passionate about. And it is about passion. It is about your feelings, like your sacred, sacral energy, which is mostly people identify as a sexual energy, but it's creative energy, because it's located in the area of the body that is like the pelvis and the sexual organs. It's sacred energy that we use to make things happen, and it's our passion. And I don't want to dictate to you what you are passionate about. I want you to paint your painting. And I want to give you the tools to do it. So you're allowed to be here. That's red chakra. Orange chakra is utilizing your passion. And then intellect is having the actual intellectual tools to begin to know what you're doing. But I also say you don't have to know everything to begin. So as an artist, sometimes people stand in front of a blank canvas and they're like, like, what do I do? Like, I'm afraid. How do I even start? That's another thing, kind of even as a musician, how do I even start with the first note? And the answer is, you begin with rough sketches, rough sketches of reality. And that means you don't have to know the whole entire path. You just have to have kind of an idea. So when I'm an artist and I'm drawing in my studio, if I'm going to, paint a picture of a tree, first, I just kind of roughly sketch it in with my pencil that's erasable. I don't start off with indelible ink or a paint that's not, able to be shifted. And if I do it and it doesn't look right, then I'm like, this doesn't look right at all. Erase, erase, erase. Everybody has to have that. I have a pencil actually right here. The freedom for your mind to be both a pencil that you write with and an eraser. Your imagination and what you're doing, because now we're also bringing this all the way up here to the higher faculties of imagination and divine connection. You have both the generative capacity and the eraser. That's in case you do things that are not perfect and you're able to erase and shift. And you start off lovingly with yourself in rough sketches and you think like, I wonder what this would be like. So a brief example is I just had a wonderful retreat in Sedona. It was super duper duper successful. I had about 10 Flying Rainbow Lasagne dancers there, and we had a space all to ourselves. And I chose Sedona because it's got a beautiful high ceiling, I call it, like big, expansive psychic area there. And we're able to really dance and really stretch out. And we did beautiful work dancing for ourselves and dancing for the collective. And it was super fantastic. And then I returned home and I'm like, I want to do something similar, but I didn't know exactly how. I'm like in the rough sketch mode is why I'm bringing this up, because I'm like, well, here's a rough sketch. Maybe I want to rent the same house. Or here's a different rough sketch. Maybe I want to go to a different location. And I don't have to be committed right away. I'm envisioning the future and contributing toward the navigation of time. This is what we're talking about here. I'm not just bumping along like, oh, time is sending me here, time is sending me here. You can tell I'm kind of like destabilized all over the place. I'm very centered in myself and making real choices. Do I want to fly in this direction? What would it look like if I rented that space? Or what would it look like if I worked with that person and did that over there? Or what would it look like if I could have a totally different experience if I did this over here? And you have to have that inner freedom and know that you are totally loved. Compassion towards yourself and love and acceptance from the entire cosmic infrastructure that you're figuring stuff out. That's it. You don't have to be an instant expert. You get a chance to figure things out. And then when you make a mistake as an artist, you must be not self-critical, but honest. Look at it, look at your work, be like, does this work? Is this good? Is this not good? This is not good. Erase this part. And you do that in your own life and you do that in your body. And everything about body healing, I don't want to speak over you. You look like you have something to say. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, no, I'm just like trying to apply this. And so it's beautiful. Keep going, please.
Yeah. Everything in your body that might need healing or uplift. And, most people have either some bumps, bruises, minor health complaints, minor aging, or maybe sometimes major stuff. It's not just completely discrete or disassociated from life events, that our body is really in the state of health and vitality or lack of it that it is in from our life events. So optimizing our pathway through time equals optimizing the health of our body. And, we can take all these different supplements and do all these different things, but what we really need to do is maximize the flow state of bliss, the frictionless bliss of what we are doing in our lives and align with our purpose. So what I use in terms of teaching the values to people, how do you know what's a good painting? How do you know how you're successful as an artist of reality? You have to assess whether you are aligning with your life's purpose and whether those activities are putting you into a frictionless flow state. So for me, when I do the Flying Rainbow Lasagne, I know I'm in the groove when I'm really feeling it. I've done all sorts of different work also, like I have integrated into human society enough that I've done all sorts of things that I just want your listeners to all know. Like I've done work in offices. I have done people's emails. Like I've done all these different things. And it's essential for me to share that with you so that I know what non-bliss feels like. I know what it feels like to feel like, oh, like this is not the ideal activity for me to be doing. I know what it feels like to kind of make that minor sacrifice, be on not the ideal path, but we're doing it, we're getting through and blah, blah, blah. But ideally what we want to do is keep on fine-tuning reality. This is me painting and sketching my own reality better each day. And Flying Rainbow Lasagne is a contribution that you make each day. So you can't be expected to go like, a sharp 90-degree turn from where you've been going into where you're going to go. You make incremental shifts in reality that bring you towards the optimized levels of flow state in your life and in your health. And that also takes a lot of the pressure off, that you don't have to be an instant expert. You do a little bit every day. This is how any masterpiece is created. Anything, paint a little bit each day, and then stand back and assess how you're doing. And that as you do this dance and as you fine tune your life, your body gets better and improves. And so I can say that I model this directly for people because I'm a walk-in. I came into this body. My body had tons of neurological damage and so many challenges. And it's really been a 20-year journey at fine-tuning my body and being able to optimize my life patterns so that my body is in its optimum form. So I want everybody who's listening, everybody who might be hearing this for the first time to know, like, begin where you are. Wherever you are, that is the optimum place to begin. And that you do small incremental shifts every day. And that as you paint on the masterpiece of you, it comes forward into more and more beautiful levels of formfulness. And you do a few layers every day, a few strokes every day. And then what you do is you go into the life experience that you're generating. So to do the Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance, you kind of disengage from reality for a moment, go into neutral, like when your car goes into neutral, you go into a state of literally quantum indeterminacy. And that's what that butterfly flying from flower to flower feeling is like. And then you come back into reality. But the key point is you have to look around for what's new, because you will have rearranged things, and you have to be open to, what did I do? What did I change? And what did I shift? And what came up that I didn't see before? And it might be like a new opportunities in your email box, or a new phone conversation, or something has evolved and changed. Keep your eyes and awareness open for that. Or sometimes, I mean, I've lived in my town for over 7 years. I walk past the street and I'm like, it's funny, I never noticed that before. You will have those experiences, and please know that you danced that into reality. And these are like these little thumbs up from yourself where you're telling yourself, you did that, going in the right direction. And as you get more of that feeling, then you're like, did it? Like, I did a thing. You'll have a lot of firsts. Like, if you remember when you were 3 years old, the first time you tied your shoes and you're like, I did a thing, I did it. And then you feel like, hooray. And then you're like, I want to do it again. And we gain from this. This is how you gain like spiritual muscles to be able to keep going. And then after many years of doing this, you become an expert. This is what real-time traveling and real-time navigation is about. So you are able to sculpt time. You are able to consciously choose and navigate which timelines you're on. And then also, if there are no good options on the menu, and again, apologies, I'm drinking water and thirsty there. If there are no good options on the menu, do you know what you do? You don't just like give up in defeat. You create a new recipe, which is where you're like, like I'm kind of stuck. I don't like any of these roads. I don't like any of these options. Everything looks like a negative future outcome. How about I innovate something new? And I call that, like, in the face of adversity, dance like a flying rainbow lasagna. And I have actually wonderful sharings from people that I've been teaching over the years, and they might have gotten into a moment of severe life turmoil, and they're like, Aurora, I didn't know what to do. And then I just dropped everything and danced. And then I went out and met exactly the person that I needed to meet, and a whole new roommate situation developed. And all of my things that I thought were huge, insurmountable life problems became contextualized, and I was able to solve and fix them. Like, things like that really happen. And it's because of this momentary shift out of rationalism and out of former patterning into new patterning that then opens the door for new innovations to come forward that we can experience.
Exciting. Okay, our minds are whirling, and I know many just want to go dance right now. So let's go into that dancing aspect. There's some questions too. Okay, so as you were talking and sharing this beautiful wisdom, that's helping us shift our DNA right there, I just have to say. Really, it really is.
Yes.
So, okay, so let's talk about dancing and shifting and bringing in new timelines, new things. For some reason, I keep looking at thoughts that we could get stuck in, feelings that we get stuck in. And you did mention it, it's the programming that we have to override. We have to get out of it. We have to uplift. We have to transcend that programming, the feelings of just, not doing good. let's take aging, for example. You did mention that. And we've actually on this program, we've heard that, yes, we can really direct our DNA and our bodies to become quantum and superhuman, superpowers, actually. So when we're talking about like aging, or if someone has a health issue, what would that look like to be able to dance or move? And if someone can't dance, whatever, we can sit in a chair and dance, or we can in our minds dance. So what does that begin to look like? And is it just a freedom of um expression, or what is going on? How can we steer that to our advantage, to our creation?
You brought up, I think, one of the best points. Thank you so much. I think that you're so perceptive on that. My dance is not just for super athletes. I love ballerinas, I love gymnasts, I love super athletes, but my dance is for everyone. That's really a big part of my philosophy. So, because for many years, I danced pretty much from the torso up because I didn't have very good connection to my lower body because of neurological challenges. So you can absolutely do the dance from a chair. You can do the dance even if all that you could do is move your pinkies or move your eyelashes. Yes, you can still do the dance because the dance is really a dance with your energy field, with your DNA oscillation, and with your consciousness. And if you're alive and you're present, you can do the dance. And then please know that the more that you do the dance, the more that you are capable of doing the dance, that new connections are made. So in my own body, I didn't used to have the word for this, but it's called neuroplasticity. That I didn't come here and say, I'm going to do neuroplasticity. I did not have those words. Now I do because I have healed my brain to the point that I can learn new words like that. But I had to build new pathways and find interesting ways of bouncing signals from point A to point B that couldn't get there directly. So each person has to innovate. If you are facing a paralysis or a health challenge or a chronic disease, you'll have to innovate. That's like solving the Rubik's Cube of your own body because everybody's body and life challenges are different. There is the commonality that almost everyone here faces, which are the implantations and limits about what is chronological aging. And to overcome that, you have to know that, first of all, I give you the truthful information for your light body in real genuine uplift here. Our bodies were designed to be eternal vehicles, and that they were not designed to wear out, definitely not within 100 years. All of that is unnatural. And even though it might have been going on for many previous generations, this is the generation when you can do something very, very different. There have been many wonderful people in our past who have made great strides. Like you might know them as yoga masters. There are stories about people that live to age 180 through these different types of practices. So just know, like, people have been pushing this boundary and exploring it, and that was appropriate for their time, place, and their generation. But in our generation, we can totally transcend the aging limitation, which was, now I'm getting just deep into stuff here, it was placed into humanity purposefully in order to diminish, subjugate, and disempower humans. Because if your bodies don't last for very long, and it takes you so long to be born, learn how to walk and talk, learn about the world, and then all of a sudden, you're not here anymore, then it's very difficult to kind of build and create a long-term empowerment structure. So yeah, that was done to humans, non-consensually, to diminish all of you. And it is one of the greatest aspects of being a freedom fighter, to transcend that in your own body. So just that knowledge itself, it's not natural to grow old and age and die. And then some of the other things to know is that death is really a misdirection of these energy fields, that death is really a misalignment with the edge of this sculpture instead of going straight up the center towards where that singularity is. Aging is really an end result of friction, as this is kind of tilted at an angle instead of being in perfect alignment. And death is when you're tilted at an angle so much that you're not only having friction, like the brakes are being pushed, but you crash into a wall. And then what happens upon death is, instead of the DNA moving, it stops moving. And that is really what death is. So remember, recap from what we were just talking about, DNA is your connection to time, and death is when you don't move through time any longer. And aging is when there is friction from moving through time. So in order to conquer aging, What we really need to do is optimize our flight through time. And this is a bunch of different things. Some of it is behavioral and life restructuring that it might very well mean leaving a business partnership, leaving behind certain habits, leaving behind certain relationships, things that not only are draining, but are wearing, and corrosive is the best word that I have for it. Some things are corrosive and they are aging, and we should not do them. So there's really not a way to be like, I'm going to live forever and be young while I like slave away in the coal mines. You know what I mean? Like, there's just not a way to do that. It is corrosive to be there. Don't put yourself in that situation. And then someone might say, like, well, like someone's got to be out there slaving away in the coal mines. And like, I disagree. We don't have to have that. We need to change our whole entire world so that our whole society is optimized, so that it's not a caste system. Because we can't have some people who are, you know, discard. There is no such thing as a disposable person. You can't be like, oh, those guys are disposable. Have them out there destroying themselves so that I can be here, like in a luxury bath with my strawberries, not aging. You know what I mean? So I'm very, very, this is what I tell people. I have worked, girl. Yeah, because I'm very much about all of us being able to transcend this. So personal restructuring and social restructuring. So choosing activities that are constructive instead of corrosive. And even in the way that we do our sports and athleticism, you know, there's a big difference between being a professional athlete in ways that like wears down the body and then the person, their career is over, versus having the endurance to be an athlete for your whole life. I would want everybody, whether you consider yourself an athlete or a dancer or not, to start identifying in that sense and say, what are the things that I can do that are going to help care for my body, that will make it last for a long time? Whenever I go past the car wash, I always laugh, sorry for being silly, but it says a clean car goes far. And I'm like, that's right. Like, your body will go far if you keep it clean. So in our world, we need to choose certain activities and the way we do certain things. Posture is a big thing. Like, there's a way to do almost anything so that it preserves our skeleton, like so that your back is comfortable, your knees, your hips, your spine, all these things are comfortable. There are also other things in terms of like getting enough sleep. And this might sound like very basic in what I'm trying to tell you, but it's not that basic or whatever. Right now in our world, you have to be a super warrior because we're exposed to a lot of environmentals that are corrosive. LED lights are not very good for our bodies. And they're now in almost everything. Like, they're in all the electronics and they're in all these different light bulbs and even street lights and other environmental places. Natural sunlight is actually not corrosive, even though I tell people I do wear like a mineral sun protected, and I wear a big hat when I'm out around town. Like, everybody sees me in my hat when I walk with my dog. Like, we protect ourselves from the sun. But the sun is your friend, and the sun feeds your light body. But these LED lights, fluorescent lights, they are corrosive. And I think that many people can probably relate if they've ever spent time like in a non-optimized work environment where it's like a bunch of gray cubicles, fluorescent lights, a very drab, non-pleasant interior, doing work that they did not enjoy, and how it felt draining and non-energizing, in contrast with what it feels like when you're doing something that you love. And so doing the things that you love and aligning with your purpose is big. But also in my house, or any place where I can control it, I put in the old incandescent bulbs. Use the old incandescent bulbs, yellow shift all your electronics. And what that means is you go into the display settings for your screens and switch it from blue all the way over to yellow. Unless you're doing like an art project or something like that, switch it over to yellow and things will look more yellowish on the screen. But it's so much more important for our eyes. So your eyes are also a big part of your light body. Talking about feeding your light body with real light, and most of us look at the computer screen all the time, and we don't want that blue light coming in. You can also get the blue light glasses. All right. Here are some other things that feed your light body. If you eat these brightly colored foods, like, you know, if dandelions are not sprayed with pesticides, you can eat the yellow flower heads, and it helps your eyesight. It helps your light body because the yellow pigments that are in the dandelions absolutely help the retinas. You can also get this with eating like blueberries, the colorful fruits, the red, orange, yellow, colorful peppers and fruits. Eat dandelions, eat marigolds. It's going to go into your eyes. And I have what I call a chicken light. It's what they use for brooding chickens, like to keep the chickens' eggs and the little hatchlings warm. It's warm and it's red and it's like a large, but you have to make sure that you don't burn yourself or burn your house down. Like, you know, people get these all the time. It's infrared lights, but mostly they have these really expensive ones, and most of them are LED, and those are great. Like, so you blah blah. I'm talking too fast. A lot of people do it's infrared light therapy. It's very much promoted as sports recovery and collagen growth, and that's going to help a lot. And I had an infrared light, a regular LED one, but I like my chicken light the best. It's like $30 at the feed store. And I recommend them to people because I think they're great, and you can't overdose on them. Just make sure that it's hot, you don't burn yourself, your family members, but you set that up. The infrared light helps to feed your mitochondria. So how do you help anti-aging feed your mitochondria? Anything that you can do to optimize mitochondrial health. So that's going to be having a proper sleep cycle. And that's not that easy. Some people work the night shift, and that really has a huge impact on body metabolism and overall health. So working the night shift is not worth it. That's the equivalent of the modern day going into the coal mines. Another thing is overworking, like staying up too late doing emails. I'm guilty. I am guilty of this. I have a busy life, and I do all this, and I still have to get stuff done. And I'm doing my emails at 1 a.m. in the morning, and I know that it's naughty and I shouldn't do it. And I apologize. Sorry, mitochondria. Sorry, mitochondria. I love you. I'm doing my emails in the middle of the night. No, in the middle of the night, we need to be resting. We need to have more of the type of life that we would have in a natural environment where you wake up with the sun and then you go to sleep when the sun goes down, or at least do restful activities where you're not being exposed to these artificial light sources when the sun goes down. So optimize your life as much as you can. Be in self-forgiveness when you can't do those things. And all of these practices with light, they help the body's natural melatonin. So anything that you can do to bring up melatonin. And people think melatonin is that stuff that they give you if you can't sleep at night. But melatonin is produced in our body all throughout the day. It is intimately connected to the pineal gland. The pineal gland is one of our physical anatomy structures that is totally the orchestrator. Like, imagine I'm the orchestra leader, and I'm the pineal gland, and I'm telling all the musicians what to do. That is the orchestrator of your light body. And so your pineal gland talks to your mitochondria, and it says, hey, metabolize glucose. Hey, run your motors and do this. Hey, do this thing. So what people often talk about when they talk about aging is a feeling of having not a lot of energy, having a feeling of not a lot of get up and go, and noticing body parts that aren't comfortable. All right. That really what we need to do is optimize the flow state of our mitochondria so that the energy that we have from the food that we eat actually flows through our light body and gives us energy so that we can do stuff. And then we use that energy to make more energy. So whatever you're going to do, like if you're going to run in a way that is supportive to your body. So that means, like, you run comfortably, take a break. I'm like, you don't have to do a grim death march. You know what I mean, guys? Exercise in a way that is supportive to your body, but exercise is big too. So we had a little bit of technological snafu. That is why I couldn't do what I usually do, but I usually walk on a treadmill while I'm doing all of my video work. I just got one of these little under desk treadmills, and I've been doing that for over a year. And I think it's great because I do a lot of videos all day long where I'm either talking on the phone or talking with people on the Zoom. And I realized I was being very sedentary and my body wants to move. So I just have the treadmill on like 1 or 2 miles per hour. And I just am slowly walking throughout my whole entire day. And my back feels great and my body feels great instead of feeling tired or de-energized because I spent hours sitting or typing or whatever it is. And we also, the posture, I joke about that, the Gollum-like posture of being hunched up close when I'm doing the computer stuff and I squint and I have to do all of this. And then it's like, no, I can't do that all the time. So what I do is I take a lot of breaks. I do a lot of expansive work at stretching my body. Anything that you can do that's going to stretch your spine is going to help you to live longer. Stretching, like hang from a doorway, stretch yourself, get tall, lay down, get tall. Your spine and spinal health is crucial for this. So being able to do anything that's going to help with the lengthening and healthy functioning of your spine, and then anything that makes us bend in an uncomfortable way, stay hunched or stay cramped and small, that's going to make a person age.
Okay. Well, you have inspired us in brilliant, vibrant ways. We are really taking notes, and wow, very, very helpful. Thank you, Aurora. Very helpful.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're going to talk about a way that people can work with you and go deeper into what you're telling us here on this beautiful discussion, this presentation. Before we get there, though, do you want to do a meditation for us to reach into this dance world and direct the DNA, dancing with our DNA?
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity to do this. So I will just say I would like, so I, and you might see me working with these. These are amplified natural crystals. They're natural crystals inside of an human created housing that I'm working with. And what I use is my gift of non-locality to send out this energy to others who are willing to receive. So for those who are watching and for yourself, if you're willing to receive, just accept it and allow it to come to you. And that way, I'm very ethical in everything that I do. And what I would love to do is send some energy through people's light bodies in order to clear out the negative stories that come from like the telecommunications infrastructure and all of these, I call it Wyatt Fry. All of those stories are not just disruptive to cells, but they tell a story that is not necessarily truthful about the inevitability of aging and disease and death. And what I do in the individual sessions when I work with people, and even sometimes with groups, and even sometimes just moving through communities, I clear out those stories. And that also includes what I mentioned, those stories of cultural catastrophism, where people just have an expectation of like, not only are you going to die as a person, but your whole species is going to die, your whole planet is going to die, everything's going to go kaput, rolling down the toilet. And I go lighthearted and I talk about those things. I never mean to diminish anyone, but I say it in a funny way because like, this is like sad stuff that I don't want people to be feeling. So what I do is I go into people's bodies very respectfully, and I put energy in there that clears out, I call it like millimeter waves, like, 5G. It's that stuff. That stuff in our world is not there by accident. It really has been placed there. But again, it's part of the suppression agenda. And I clear it out from people's bodies so that way the cells are not hearing the bad news that says that you're going to die and the world is going to get destroyed. And then put in just divine connection, which are real stories, which says, you have the capacity to regenerate. You have the capacity to continue to live well, and that wherever you are, if you're alive, things can get better. Like, yes, not only where there's life, there's hope. Like where there's life, like you have a miracle. You're a miracle in a miracle. So that is what I'll do. And I'll narrate a little bit of the different body systems that I'm going through. And I'll do like a fast version. This is just like, imagine washing a window really fast with Windex, not a deep clean, but I do deep cleanings. And that's also something new that I've been able to develop because my powers are always augmenting and always finding new ways. I do this in service. I do this to help other people. Yes. So I'd be so pleased to be able to do that for all of you. And we'll do it just like for a few minutes. Does that work?
Oh my goodness, that feels luscious. Thank you. We're excited. Yay.
Fantastic. Great. Okay, so I'll keep my eyes open, but sometimes I close my eyes. And also sometimes I start moving at such a fast rate internally that I can't even really connect my brain to my mouth in order to talk about what I'm doing. But I move in very, very fast figure eights through the cell membranes of the body. And the cell membranes are phospholipids and they're fats, and we love our fats. Fats get a bad rap, but fats are absolutely essential. Fats are part of the light body system, that they contain and transmit light energy. And I go through and clear out the stories that are the frequency reverberations of what has been sent through the body. So this is not even physical metabolites. This is the frequency end result of things that were sent through that are not supposed to be there. Like imagining clearing out stuff from your computer, even though I'm not a transhumanist, but I clear out those stories that are not supposed to be there. Also clearing out cell membranes and the receptors that involve neurotransmitters, hormonal receptors, the full functioning of the cell-to-cell communication. Your cognitive brain is doing some level of thought processing and transferring you through time, but your cell membranes are doing a huge aspect of what it is to actually propel you through time. The millions and millions of choices that are made every second throughout the cells of your body about whether you're optimizing oxygen or whether you're releasing carbon dioxide or whether you're metabolizing glucose, any of those things. So now I'm also moving into clearing out the mitochondrial membranes. Each of those mitochondrial membranes has amazing little, they're like propellers, like jet engines that spin and they whir. And when there's viscosity and when there are metabolites, things that aren't supposed to be there, they spin more slowly, at less energy, more wear and tear on the engines. And that's really what aging is. So I clear out those membranes too. And your mitochondria are little tiny miracles inside of you that we all want to be friends with our mitochondria and be in gratitude and appreciation of what they're able to do, and clearing out those membranes so that now those little propellers can spin much more freely. And that's working with the structured water of the body. I didn't mention enough the importance of structured water, which is why you guys see me drinking out of a wine glass, and why I assure you I'm not drinking Chardonnay during our journey here. But that I'm very, very careful about. My water is non-fluoridated, and I remineralize it and I bless it. Structure your water and do whatever you can to drink the purest water, because that pure water is going to help with the structuring of both the intracellular and extracellular waters of your body, specifically around your mitochondria, so that these guys have low viscosity. It's like cleaning out your fuel injectors of your car. We're getting that going too. I'm also working up and down longitudinally the entire length of the spine, clearing the meninges of inflammation, clearing the cerebrospinal fluid and restoring its correct fluid dynamics. You could imagine it as a giant long figure eight that goes all the way around like the top of your head. Midpoint is belly button, bottom point is all the way down below your pelvis or below your feet, and restoring those fluid dynamics, as well as a spiral that goes all the way up and down the spine. And then I'm also moving into clearing out the nuclear membranes. Nuclear membranes are around the nuclei of your cells, which are the protective membranes of your DNA. And, I'm very, very careful when I reach into people's bodies and their DNA. I'm very respectful. I wipe my feet before I come inside of someone's house. I am very, cautious, and I don't do anything that I shouldn't do, because that is really the Holy of Holies, or the most special place in your body where you are connected to divinity. And I clear the waters that are inside of the nuclei of the cells, so that that perfectly clear, pure water can be both a transmitter and a receiver of divine intelligence. Divine intelligence is non-denominational. You don't have to be a member of a particular religion or sect or anything like that on the human level in order to be connected to divinity. It's part of your I am presence and your birthright. You're like a sandwich of God, from your feet to the top of your head. Silly languaging, but you are in the octave of being totally encompassed by God, from the physical presence all the way to the purely non-physical presence. And your DNA is your purely non-physical presence. And I'm working with clearing those waters so that you can effectively receive the information from divine presence into your DNA, and then also speak back, make your contribution, because you not only receive, but you also send. And that is a big part of what the big answers to the big questions, big why questions. Why do I exist in the world? And the answer is, you're here to give and to receive. And that is really what love is, a balanced tone that is created from an equal giving and receiving, or sharing with others, even as others share with you. And that is part of joining in and being with the symphony of life. This is a big retuning. And I'm also using a harmony frequency to be able to harmonize all the musicians in the band, because I'm working with you as a group. And when I talk about that, when you hear musicians in an orchestra in the beginning, they go bum, 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 and everybody's tuning up. The tuba is still the tuba, and the violin is still the violin. They don't change. We don't saw any parts off or anything like that, but they all get in tune. And that is what it is to harmonize with the symphony of life. A microbe is still a microbe, a human is still human. You're still your true self and your true identity. But what you are able to do is, even while maintaining your own individuality and your own boundaries. As you can see, I'm working with all cell membranes and boundaries. You want to have healthy boundaries and integrate and connect with others effectively. So that's a very, very short version of what I do. And then I do a lot with protective force fields, just protecting people, because there are so many errant signals. It's called propaganda. Untruthful, unhealthy, errant signals that are in the world. And I put up protective force fields around people, just so that they can have the sovereignty of their own mind and of their own body, and feel their own peace and their own divine connection. And then it's like, take it from there. It's between you and God. Take it from there. So that's like a very, very short and that's my little page break to close things out. Because I do sometimes like a whole 1 hour long session where I will go through a person's whole entire body and all the way into their social dynamics and all of that. But I just did a little something here that I'm so pleased to do that. And I also do a lot of work in, when we talk about healing, integration, and moving without friction in the world, trauma recovery. And what that really means is getting people out of that frozen moment of disbelief when a traumatic experience happened. It could be something as small as like when you drop your ice cream cone as a child and you're like, I can't believe the ice cream fell on the floor, or something really, really large, like an amputation or a car accident or whatever it is. But to recover that person from that moment, that all healing and integration and welcome back of that energy also reinvigorates a person. Some aging is because a person is spread out over time. Mostly they're living in the past with all these bad things that happened to them. They're not even fully here. I get all of that stuff back into the person. And then it's like Japanese, it's like dovetail joints. That's what that means. All of the pieces fit back in together and integrate perfectly. And the person is whole again. You still remember the things that happened, but you are now like on a firm foundation of standing on both of your feet to be able to face them. And that relates to everything that we're doing as a human collective here regarding ancient Atlantis, because that's really the ultimate trauma that happened to us. The degradation from being very, very exalted here to being people that are diseased and mortal, and grief and loss and confusion and dishevelment. That healing that trauma doesn't mean you forget about it. You remember it. You remember what brought you here. You remember your journey. But in the integration, you are whole. And then you're able to face with all of your courage everything that you need to do to pretty much restructure reality and make the world a paradise state again.
Incredible work that you're doing, Aurora. Really fascinating. I could feel that entire cleanse, that body scan, that body cleanse. I could feel that internally. Wow. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. And you are just so amazing. Really expanding our thoughts, putting us in a empowered place to think and feel and to treat ourselves in the optimal way. And for that, we are changed. And it's so beautiful. Thank you again. I love it. I really do.
You're welcome. Hooray. Hooray. You're so welcome. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, your energy is contagious too. Thank you. We love it. Okay. So there is our audience. I know there's going to be so many that want to work with you, and that's why we're very excited to present this webinar. It's a workshop. It is the Flying Rainbow Lasagna Dance Workshop. Tell us about this. People watching can scroll down on this webpage or click the link in the description box to find it. But what is this about? This sounds really good.
Yes, absolutely. So I will do a presentation about what I've done here is really, I joke, flapping of my moving mouth parts, right? Like the speaking about and the intellectual about, with a little bit of my showing you how I move and what I do with energy. But I would love to be able to bring people through more of a demonstration of what Flying Rainbow Lasagna is and how they can begin that practice in their own life. That it is more than an intellectualism. I taught about it as in that modality for over 10 years. Like I've been here for 20 years. I spent 10 years kind of working on myself. I spent 10 years speaking to humans very intellectually. And now I really do a lot with like demonstrating and showing you how you actually do this. And I'll also tell you, like, it's not, you can't expect to be an instantaneous virtuoso. It takes time, but I give you the tools that you can then apply to your life so that you can begin to cultivate yourself into these greater levels of ability. So that is what I would love to be able to share with your audience.
That is wonderful. And so we see that it's a beautiful package. It's that webinar, but there's also the membership in your community, in your Spectrum Humans courses, level 1 and 2. That's great.
Yes. And that's the stuff that is not stuff. That's the curriculum. That's original materials that I innovated pretty much about 10 years ago. So that was right around 2012 or so. And that was when I decided to call myself professor in air quotes, because I'm very clear with people. Like, I am not a trained medical professional, and I am not like a university professor at all. Like, I'm a galactic visitor here. So I call myself Professor Air Quotes. But that is when I developed that curriculum and taught people all about that. And it's very, very worth it and still relevant, like a basic black dress or a simple tuxedo that is always going to be in style. But what I do when I do my presentations and my weekly webinars, I give that to everyone as their homework. And then I do a relevant presentation to where we are in our journey right now. Because, you know, something 10 years ago, it was actually a much more simple time. We didn't have the same levels of, let's say, nanotechnology and other things and AI that are really impediments to consciousness development that we're facing in terms of spiritual development. And when you look at these yogis and masters that meditated and did things, you know, 100 or 200 years ago, they were not facing telecommunications towers in their neighborhood or, you know, impurities in their food and water. It's a very, very different world that we are in now. So everything that I teach now, I ask people to go into those pristine teachings from 10 years ago where I taught about things in a perfect world. And then I relate it to this world that we're in, which I admittedly am here in solidarity. It ain't a perfect world, because I don't want anyone here to be like, I'm doing all the stuff. Like, why is everything not working? Because you know something, pushing a boulder uphill is a very, very difficult challenge to be here. So I'm with you on the marathon. We're running uphill and huffing and puffing. And everyone's like, I'm hot. I'm sweating. My feet hurt. This is hard. And I'm like, I know, guys. I'm with you. I'm also hot and sweating and running uphill, and my feet hurt too. And we keep going. We encourage one another. So I want you to know we are in extraordinary times in terms of the technological inundations that are in our world, that have never been here before, that we've never had to face before, that you guys got to face it. And that's it. And I'm not on some interdimensional cloud, again, living a life of luxury. They're like, oh, everything's so great for me. So sorry that you guys are dealing with that down there. I'm like, no, I'm right here with you. And that's why I'm here with you, so that I can say, oh, yes, I'm not just talking about mere theoreticals here. I absolutely know exactly how challenging it is. And I come up with solutions, and I inspire others about how they do this. So every single thing that they throw at us, there's a way to be able to face it and transcend it. But it is work. I will tell you, it requires effort. And one of the best things that I learned from doing my retreat in person when I worked with people was being able to guide people in the actual moments of the dance. Like, so when we do the dance, we dive through time. We don't walk through a portal like the way that you walk on 2 feet to go through a doorway. We dive through time portals and roll through and come on the other side. But again, don't worry, this is accessible to people of all ability and mobility levels. But you can dive with your mind, okay? So when we are doing these things, I want you to know sometimes it's effort level 3, like it's easy, just roll right on through. And sometimes I'm like, no, guys, effort level 9.5 on the scale of 10. Like, you're gonna have to pedal hard on the bicycle, pedal, pedal, pedal. So I think I've gotten very good at being able to guide people in that sense, because sometimes it's easy, smooth sailing. Sometimes you can coast on the bicycle. Sometimes you are bicycling uphill and it's icy conditions and you're slipping and sliding and you got to pedal hard. I'll tell you, and I'll be with you. We're gonna make it. This is planetary ascension. Yeah, sometimes you gotta work. You gotta try hard.
Okay, yes. Well, thank you for having our backs and being there right with us. It's wonderful. You do incredible work, and I know that so many are going to benefit from this, and
Yes,
excited. We're very excited for this webinar. We
great,
cannot wait for it. So all the
great.
details for that are on this webpage, folks. So check it out and get involved with the teachings from Aurora, a cosmic galactic ambassador for sure. Oh my goodness, we love your teachings. And there's more events that we're going to do with you, because the wisdom that you hold, I've got a bunch of questions and more future programs planned with you. So we're excited for that. And so, Aurora, I just want to thank you for being here and sharing your dance for the DNA with the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. And so, as we say goodbye, I have a question then. The earth that you see, what vision do you hold of your life purpose here? and the earth that you see from living your life purpose?
Oh, wow. Such a beautiful question. So, a lot of the past 10 years has been about like efforting, pushing a boulder up a hill, doing what I sometimes call, it might not be delicate language, but I say scrubbing the cosmic toilet, right? It's a little choreful. It's a little bit like dealing with trauma, stuff that's not that much fun, stuff that's cleanup, cosmic cleanup crew. That's what I'm here to do. And also protection. I'm very protective, like an umbrella, protecting this world so that you can go through your ascension process. We do get to a point where we're not just being choreful. What I envision is the end and completion of that chapter and the end of being so embattled, and then being able to move into total artistic freedom of expansion, where it is the fun stuff. You do get to the fun stuff. So like here in my house, if I've got like, oh, like I have to do the laundry and I have to do the dishes and I have coffee cups all over the place, blah, blah, and I can't do my music or my artwork yet. And I do all these things, get everything done. And then I'm like, great, all of that stuff is out of the way. Now I finally do the fun stuff. Let's fire up the piano. Let's mix up some paint. Let's do the things that I really love. That is what we are truly here for. So I encourage everyone, if you've been feeling choreful, if you've been feeling uninspired, even if it's been for the past 10 years, it ain't you, it's the entire world and the cosmic collective that we've been going through. And we do break through. The finish line does not mean death. It does not mean the end of the world. It does not mean a catastrophe. It means the end of the chores. And then you finally get to do the fun stuff, which is direct reality creation with your mind. And when you do that, what would you create with your mind? Just leave that with your audience. If you had a paintbrush with your mind, what would you paint? The most beautiful. Please envision the most beautiful, positive, comfortable, joyous, fun, expansive things you possibly can for yourselves and your communities, and especially for plants and animals. They are here with us. We are one planet that is part of this ascension process, even to the microbial level. Please include all of that in your envisionment with the paintbrush of your mind. So being able to do, you will be able to be purely telepathic. You will be telekinetic. You will not only heal and regenerate your own body and heal and regenerate other people's bodies, you'll be making things and doing things that are fun, expansive, meaningful, purposeful, the complete opposite of corrosive work in the coal mines. You can't wait to wake up in the morning and get going, doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And every minute is a fun adventure. And every minute you're meeting the most fantastic people and receiving the most amazing inspiration from all of them. Life becomes a wonderful adventure and a constant dance party. That's what you get.
Hallelujah. Awesome. So
Yeah.
wonderful. We are so excited. Thank you, thank you, thank you for showing us this way and raising our vibration today. We are so excited. We're empowered and we are hopeful because we can do this. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So welcome. It is an absolute pleasure. It is a pleasure to talk with you here. It is my cosmic job joy to do this work. And yeah, it is my pleasure to serve you. I'm very, very pleased to be able to do this. So thank you for all of that recognition, truly.
Awesome. Okay, Aurora, what a beautiful soul. Cosmic Galactic Ambassador as a walk-in. Thank you for being here, everyone. And Aurora, thank you for this beautiful presentation today. We are shifted upwards, uplifted. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.